Ladies and gentlemen and Reddies all across the world, it's time for Legends and Heroes. We share stories about the people who made Henderson State University great then and continue to share now. Today we have a great guest, Dr. Wesley Branstine, and he shares with us how he came to Henderson State and the people who made an influence on him, and talks a little bit about the people he made an influence on. Please remember our copyright, and that is copy the heck out of it. We love you. Come join us with Dr. Wesley Branstine.
We're starting, okay? Elvin White was my band director in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. Great person, great musician, great band director, just like almost like a father to me. And he said, "You have to go to school." And we already knew I was going to major in music. He said, "You have to major in music." I said, "I know that. I want to do that." I said, "Where do I need to go to school?" And the reason he had said music is because I had played football, and I had an offer at Oklahoma State University, and I had an offer at Wilburton. And then there was another, supposedly one in the act at Durant. So he was afraid I was going to major in athletics, physical education. So anyway, we cleared that up. I was going to major in music. He said, Gene Witherspoon is the director at Arkansas Tech. And he used to be the band director in McQueen, Arkansas, which is only 26 miles from Broken Bow. And he said he's doing auditions over there. And I'm going to take you over there, you and David Wilson and a couple others, to audition for a school. It's a great school. So I went over and auditioned for Gene Witherspoon. The only thing I remember about the audition was he asked me to do the C scale in 2 octaves. And I didn't have I had a trigger at that time, but I didn't much know how to use it. So I started on second space C, and I started up. So I had to go up to the high C. And he said 2 octaves. I said, I don't believe I've ever played that high C before. And he said, well, go ahead and give it a try. And luck was with me, you know. And not only did I play it, but I just used the regular positions from an octave lower. I didn't know those high positions at that time. And played it in tune. And I finished that scale, and he said, "You have a really good ear." Oh, okay, thanks. And he said, "I really would like for you to come to school at Arkansas Tech." But he said, "I can't offer an out-of-state scholarship. You are across the line in Oklahoma, and I can't offer you a scholarship." And I said, "Well, you know, thank you very much." And really super nice guy. I really liked him. And so I went back home. It wasn't a few days till Mr. Evans called. And Gene Witherspoon, and people didn't know, they were fierce competitors. But they were good friends. And people didn't know about the friends part. But they were good friends. And Gene Witherspoon called Evanson and said, "Hey, there's a guy down there in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. If you can give out-of-state scholarships, you need to go get him." And Mr. Evanson came down, and he was looking at me and Leland Schrock. And Leland was a horn player at that time, and he was a junior, I was a senior. Mr. Emerson got me, but he didn't get Leland. Leland went on to get a master's at Indiana University, and then he played in the San Antonio Symphony for a while. Great player, great guy too, still lives in San Antonio. Anyway, so I auditioned for Mr. Emerson. And at Broken Bow, and he went to a concert with our band, and he was really impressed because there were about 300 people there at that concert. What he didn't realize was that in Broken Bow, Oklahoma, the school was the center of everything. It was a small town, and if anything happened at the school, it didn't matter what it was. It could have been tiddlywinks, and everybody in town would have been there. So he was really impressed with that. He was impressed with the band, and so he offered me a stage band scholarship. Now, stage band is jazz band, what they call jazz band. And so I came to Henderson on a stage band scholarship, and I think it was like $345, and that was tuition. That paid my tuition. And it's the only way I would have been able to go to school. My parents didn't have a lot of money. So that's it. That's how I got here. When I first came here, it was in 1960, and we registered in Arkansas, and all of the teachers were there, every teacher for every class, and you had to go around to that teacher and request to be in class. Well, they didn't have degree plans or anything like that. They just said, music, you go over there. And from that point on, the camaraderie, the intelligence, those teachers were smart. Robert Ellis, May Whipple, Miss Smith, Wendell Evans. I mean, they were all just brilliant teachers. And I thought, man, you know, after about 2 or 3 years, I thought, man, I have gotten into the right place. And it's what I knew from their teaching that that's what I wanted to do. And I interviewed. I finished 4 years, and I went down to Fordyce, Arkansas. And the superintendent down there was down home, so I could communicate with him pretty well. And he said, now we've got $4,200 for a year. And he said, I'm going to call your high school superintendent. We called Mr. Johnson over in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. And my sister happened to be teaching in the Broken Bow schools at that time. Mr. Johnson liked her, and he liked my family. And so he gave me a good report. And the superintendent hung up the phone and said, I'm going to hire you right now. I said, well, Mr. Evanson had called and said Lakeside High School has a position open. And he said, don't sign anything until I get back to you on Lakeside. So I told Mr. forget what that superintendent's name was at Fordyce, but I said, I have one more interview. You understand that? Oh yeah, I understand that. And I said, I'll go do that, and then I'll get back to you. And he said, you go ahead and take your other interview, and then you come right back to Fordyce and be a Red Bug. I think they were Red Bug. Anyway, Lakeside High School paid $48. Boy, at that time, that was a good one. Nobody made more than 45, you know. So that was a really good salary. And I took the job. B.T. Sheffield was the superintendent there. And I took that job. And that's how I got into teaching. And I taught there for a couple of years and got drafted. And if I had known then what I know now, I could have probably beaten the draft, because my draft was at Broken Bow, Oklahoma, and I could have moved it to Little Rock. They had plenty of people in Little Rock. The guy at Broken Bow said, we have 40, what's the word I'm looking for, quota. We have a quota of 40, and then there are 2, you, one other guy. And he said, you go in, boy. You can do anything you want to do, but you go into the United States Army. So I did. So after the Army, a lot of Army stories I could tell you. But after the Army, I went to Hope, Arkansas. A lot of stories about Hope. But while I was, long story short, second year there, we integrated. That was an interesting year. And then after the third year, I had been going to North Texas in the summers for my master's. And the reason I started my master's is when I went to Hope, Mr. Evanson called and said, have you got a master's degree? And I said, no, sir, I don't. He said, well, we're going to hire a low brass teacher. And he said, I wish you had a master's because we could consider you that way. You could audition, at least audition. And I said, Mr. Emerson, I don't. But the next time you call, I will. And so I went to Summers and got my master's. And then I went ahead and started my doctorate after that third summer. Boy, I'd come home, I'd go to school, I'd get through at North Texas on Friday and start marching band on Monday. I hope. That was fun. So anyway, I went back to North Texas, and next time Mr. Emerson called, I had more than a master's. And so I came up and auditioned, played a recital here. And Bob Bruner was Dean of Fine Arts at that time. And he said, we'd love to have you come. Henderson said, Wendy is really high on you. And I said, and he was a father figure too, and our big brother or something. Family, anyway. And so I said, I'd really love to come here. And he said, well, we'll offer you 90. I think it was 95. This was in 1973. And of course, that was the lowest thing they could possibly pay. The janitors were getting 98, And so I said, Dr. Bruner, can you get me 10,000? I said, I have another job pending for 10,000. And I really would like to have that. And he said, I don't think there's anyone who cannot pay an entering teacher $10,000. I said, well, do the best you can. Well, he got 99 for me. And when he said that, I said, I'll take the job. And so I did. And I came here in the summer of 1973. And the rest is history, I guess.